Good evening and warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele. We'll begin from the agri scene, where the federal government is modeling a new policy that will reshape the country's fish industry and create a platform for youth engagement. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mohammed Sabo Nanono, in his message at the National Conference on Fisheries, says the government initiative will also assist in checking smuggling, illegal and unregulated fishing. Musa Baba Aliyu has more to tell us.
The global fish business presently stood at over $200 billion, with millions of jobs being created at its value chain. Even though Nigeria has a fish demand deficit of more than 2 million tons annually, the country, however, remains the largest producer of catfish in Africa. To this end, the new policy being proposed by the federal government is to provide enabling environment for fish business to thrive and create job opportunity for youths.
Towards increasing domestic fish production, create more jobs for Nigerians, narrow down the wide gap between fish demand and supply, reduce poverty, hunger and malnutrition, and also reduce fish importation.
Before 2005, our production was less, but what do we do now? There's a thing we put in place, we call it backward integration. All the fish importers to Nigeria, we are reducing the allocation. You must have a farm, so when you are exporting, for instance now, if you are bringing in 100 kilograms of fish, by next year we give allocation for 80, but we're expecting the farm you have to be expanding.
This is to be achieved in partnership with Fisheries Society of Nigeria, community and traditional institutions nationwide. Federal government and partners in fish business will facilitate the construction of fish house in Abuja that will serve as one-stop shop for investors. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Well, in Cross River State, the state governor Ben Ayade is being commended for his deliberate efforts to implement the federal government's agricultural policy of providing and enhancing food security in the country. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, who gave the commendation, says Governor Ayade has proven his acceptability of the vision in spite of different political leanings. Paul Abel tells us more.
The minister is in Cross River State to sympathize with the governor following the massive destruction that occurred in the wake of the NSAS protests, undertake an on-the-spot assessment at the Cross River Basin Development Authority, which was vandalized and encouraged staff at such a time as this. It sued for more cooperation from government to enable the Cross River Basin Development Authority meet our objectives, while sustaining achievements in the Open Defecation Free Nigeria campaign and the Partnership of Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Action Plan, PWASH.
We're following the giant strides we're making in agriculture, especially the seed factory and all the things that you've been doing, and to say that there's a lot of opportunity for us to cooperate with you through the river basin. I'm aware that you have graciously approved for us to take over the Songhai farm in the state, and I hope that we'll continue to see more of this cooperation.
You have a very big duty, even if that's all you can address. In all the governments, administrations, and departments of water resources for this country. If you can address the issue of water supply to farmers and water supply to homes, it will go a long way.
The minister was also at the Palace of the Obong of Calabar to pay homage to the royal father and sue for continued blessings. Accompanied on the visits of the minister were management and staff of his ministry. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
Well, a healthy society is regarded as a wealthy society, they say. This is why stakeholders in the health sector are advocating more sensitization and awareness on issues of proper nutrition and dieting. This was disclosed at a press briefing and flag-off of this year's Nutrition Week by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning in Abuja. Chimobi Walter Naji reports.
First 100 days in the life of an infant is regarded as the most critical. This has led to many health interventions by the UNICEF and many international partners. Recent Global Nutrition Report on Nigeria shows that cases of malnutrition in Nigeria has been on the increase, hence the introduction of the school feeding program by the federal government to address these issues among the younger generation. Determined to achieve an all-inclusive growth in the economy, the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning flagged off this year's Nutrition Week with the theme, Nutrition, the Bedrock for Economic Development. Creating awareness of the dangers of malnutrition and measures to boost immune system to fight diseases, especially the coronavirus, is top on the agenda for this year's event.
Despite concerted efforts by the government in recent years, particularly in the areas of child nutrition and breastfeeding, malnutrition have remained a challenge which must be addressed through the implementation of innovative policies and strategies that are appropriately funded, data-driven, sustainable and optimized in terms of transparency and accountability.
In addition, we have supported government and we are still supporting government to strengthen the maternal nutrition program with iron and folic acid supplements while we promote zinc and low osmolarity rehydration salt for treatment of childhood diarrhea.
The overall goal of Nigeria's food and nutrition policy is to improve the nutritional status of all Nigerians, with particular emphasis on the most vulnerable groups, including children, women, and the elderly. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
And more from the health scene, many people have turned out in Yola for the free diabetes screening and checking of hypertension organized by the Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Well, the exercise, which is part of its activities to mark this year's World Diabetes Day, is to ascertain the healthy living of the people. Rayan Ubala tells us more.
The impact of COVID-19 is said to have also affected the healthcare delivery, thereby making it difficult for the people, especially diabetic patients, to access the required medical care that will keep them healthy. Therefore, the Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency used the occasion of the World Diabetes Day to organize a free testing of diabetes and checking of high blood pressure for the people. The exercise is to ascertain their health status as well as offer them medical advice for their healthy being.
A lot of people have let go of their health and have not been on top of trying to check their blood sugar, things as simple as their blood sugar, their blood pressure, and things like that. So we are saying, stay on it, keep on it. It's your health. Health is wealth.
Some of the patients were full of gratitude to the organizers, saying the testing has availed them the opportunity to know their medical health status. In Yola, Rayan Ubala, NTA News.
A look at security. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole says it has inflicted heavy casualties on Boko Haram terrorists in the Sambisa forest area of Borno State. In a statement, the Defense Media Coordinator, Major General John Eneche, indicated that this feat was achieved through multiple airstrikes executed on 14th November 2020 at 2 locations. Consequently, the ATF dispatched appropriate force packages of Nigerian Air Force attack aircraft to engage the target areas, where several Boko Haram terrorists were spotted under the dense vegetation of the locations, as the NAF jets took turns in attacking the targets, neutralizing some of them. The armed forces reiterates that it will not relent until all enemies of the nation are defeated and normalcy is restored to all troubled zones. Anambra State Governor Willie Obiano has donated 13 operational vehicles to the Nigeria Police Force, Anambra State Command, to enhance safety and security in the state after the NSAS protest. Well, the governor also honored families of deceased police officers with 2 million naira each, as well as other cash gifts to affected officers, Idem Kalu reports.
The gesture is to further expand and boost the operations of the officers in ensuring that the state remains the safest in Nigeria. The governor stated that the vehicles are for security patrols and response to distress calls and not for social services, maintaining that the state will experience a peaceful Yuletide celebration. He condoled families of first-line officers, the injured, and those whose personal properties were destroyed during the protests.
I encourage you to use these vehicles very well. They are not for social outing. They are not for guarding VIPs. They are strictly for your operational activities.
Commissioner of Police John Abang, while appreciating the governor, gave assurance that the command has fully reclaimed public and security space in the state.
I want to acknowledge the role of His Excellency in reaching out to traditional rulers and youth of various communities who join the police in the defense of our various platforms.
The governor used the opportunity to present 2 million naira each to families of 4 deceased officers, 250,000 naira each to 15 injured officers, and cash reward to selected officers and their personnel. Governor Obiano equally unveiled the 13 police operational vehicles equipped with security gadgets. In Oka, Ndamkalo, NTA News.
In Yola, the Ganye chiefdom in Adamawa State has acknowledged the contributions of a police officer and 2 hunters who distinguished themselves in the fight against criminals and criminality with an award of excellence. Rayranu Bala reports that the occasion was performed at the palace of Gangwari Ganye.
CSP Muhammad Ibrahim, the officer in charge of State Investigation Bureau Adamawa State, was recognized for stemming the tide of criminal activities in the state through dedication to service. Mahmoud Warido and Amadou Shehu Tambaya, both hunters in Ganye Chiefdom, were awarded for their gallantry in the fight against armed robbery and kidnapping in the area. The award recipients were not only recognized for fighting criminality, but their contributions in peace-building processes and stability in Adamawa State. The paramount ruler of Ganye Chiefdom, Gangwari Ganye Umaru Adamu Sanda, said, such effort will continue to be appreciated in the interest of peace and development of Ganye Chiefdom and Adamawa State at large.
With the caliber of security men we are having and with the sensitization of the people, I believe we are also equal to the task.
Only Kenya to identify with one of the sons of Ganye who has made the police force very proud in Adamawa State.
For CSP Muhammad Ibrahim and the 2 hunters, the recognition is a morale booster, promising to sustain the effort for peace in the land.
Our deep appreciation to His Royal Highness for finding us worthy to be presented with an award for some of us that have distinguished ourselves in our various fields of endeavor.
In Yola, Rayyanu Bala, NTA News.
The federal government says it will evolve more collaborative ventures with state governments to achieve sustainable development and peace in the country. Minister of Trade and Investment Ni Adebayo gave this assurance at an interactive session with the people of Ekiti State on the aftermath of the NSAS protest. Kola Adebabuye reports that Governor Kayode Fayemi was among dignitaries who attended the session.
The Stakeholders Interactive Session tagged the aftermath of NSAS protest and the need for sustainable peace in Ekiti State was an opportunity for concerned persons to highlight various issues bothering the minds of the people for total transformation of the country. These, they said, include the need for youth development agenda, capacity building, educational development, total reform of the police system, with a clarion call for Nigerian leaders to change their mindsets as ways to improve every sector. The Minister of Trade and Investment, Otunbani Adebayo, said the gathering on the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari became imperative to get feedback from stakeholders with a view to improving government efforts at making life more bearable for Nigerians.
And we also have SMEDA, which is Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, which does similar things, similar training with a view to assisting people in employment.
Governor Kayode Fayemi, who acknowledged that government is not unconscious of various challenges confronting Nigerian society, observed that efforts are run at state and federal levels to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians.
The Nigerian government's sorrow is the Nigerian with the federal government and working out modalities on how to meticulously solve this problem, one after the other.
The gathering agreed that there is need for sustainable development and promotion of peace in the state to allow delivery of dividends of democracy in Ado Ekiti. Kola Adibabwiji, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a break, and when we return, we'll be joining Chinenye in Enugu. Stay tuned.
So much and welcome to Enugu. Following the outbreak of yellow fever in 2 communities in Enugu State, the state government has commenced mass vaccination for yellow fever and fumigation of the affected communities against the mosquito vector. Jude Abugu is just back from Ete and Umopu, the epicenters of the outbreak in the state, with this situation report.
For the past 3 weeks, people from these 2 communities have been living in fear over mysterious deaths from a strange illness which state government health officials later discovered to be yellow fever. In the 2 vaccination centers visited in Umop community, local health workers were having a swell time conducting the exercise.
From the second day, the turnout was enormous. We immunized about 528.
The situation was, however, different at the neighboring Ete community, as the medical team administering the vaccines at the community's health center had exhausted its medical supply for the day before the crew arrived.
We start giving the card since yesterday. So this morning when they came now is just to take the vaccine and go back.
The state government is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts at containing the current yellow fever outbreak in Abuja North local government area.
The minute the diseases were reported and then eventually confirmed, the state government swung into action to institute the measures to control for yellow fever within the Abuja North local government as a whole.
Our target area in the fumigation is the bushes and stagnant water.
With the ongoing mass vaccination, members of the affected communities are heaving a sigh of relief. For the people of Ete and Umopu communities, it is no longer the fear of coronavirus, but that of yellow fever. From Umopu in Enugu, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
For quite some time now, consumers of electricity have complained of paying exorbitant bills not commensurate with electricity they consume. This is because of large number of consumers are without meters, a situation that has remained a source of worry to not only consumers but service providers in the power sector. It was against this backdrop that government announced the provision of meters to electricity consumers free of charge. Amechi Piles in this report takes a look at government support in this regard.
Since the unbundling of the power sector in 2005, the nation has had to contend with inadequate power supply and loss of revenue resulting from consumers' apathy to paying their electricity bills. The introduction of smart meters was part of measures by power distribution companies known as DISCOs to tackle the problem of estimated billing and curb excessive waste of energy by some consumers and get people to pay for electricity they consume. It's been a daunting task for DISCOs to meter the large network of consumers, most of who have often frowned at bearing any cost to secure a meter. For most consumers of electricity in Enugu State, government's decision to provide them with meters at no cost was a relief and a pleasant news.
These estimated bills are always at a very high rate. So I believe with this development, we'll be able to track down the quantity and quality of electricity we get.
If the government can now give meter to their citizens, then it is the right thing. And that's where they can now say that it's government property and we are taxpayers, and that is what it should be.
Even though government's intervention in the metering project has been described by operators in the industry as a step in the right direction, they say the arrangement remains a facility by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We are talking with CBN on a process of getting this loan, and after the loan is secured, meter will be imported and will begin to deploy to customers.
No doubt, operators are of the opinion that the move by government will impact positively on the entire value chain of the industry and open up windows of investment and opportunities in the business of transmission, distribution, and generation of power. Only about 500,000 properties have so far been captured out of the over 1.2 million under the network of the EDC. In Enugu, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
And that is it from Enugu. It's back to Roots in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you, Chinenye. A communication strategy that will adequately capture emergent trends and relationship between the government and the governed is needed to keep the masses abreast of government policies and programs, as well as obtaining feedback on key interventions. The Ministers of Health and Environment who advocated this on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria also stressed the need for citizens to understand the separation of powers and roles between the three tiers of government. Alika Okmanachi Arua reports.
Sharing the experience of engaging key players in the constituencies, as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari, aftermath of the NSAS protests. The ministers noted that the interface provided opportunity to listen to the yearnings of the masses and guide them on various approaches to governance and dialogue.
Everything starts with dialogue and ends with dialogue. Even wars, at the end of wars, you have dialogue. So what we told them is, this is not it. Look at all this mayhem now, all the destruction. It's your own property, some of it, the one that belongs to the government. Then you have private properties.
Quite a few things need to change because perhaps we need to be more subtle in communication. But quite obviously, there is a problem with mindset. Mindset that even the youth are part of society. They have responsibilities and they have roles and they have duties, they have obligations.
The ministers also re-emphasized the need to revamp Nigerian educational curriculum so that civic responsibilities are inculcated in citizens from the cradle.
There was that misconception that everything is government. And we have to tell people, well, you know, there is federal government, state government, and local government. And there are certain things that are the responsibility of state government and some local government.
I have made that experience myself, that people write and say the primary health care center in their ward is not functioning. Why is that not so? The federal government, well, federal government is not really responsible for the primary health care. It is a function of the state and local government.
They also advised the youths to keep themselves abreast on numerous programs and policies of the government, especially through the conventional media channels in Abuja. Alika Okpanachi, Arua, NTA News.
A group known as Ebonyi APC Stakeholders and Elders for Peace at the end of their meeting in Abakaliki has, amongst other things, agreed to lay aside their differences, work together for their interests and that of the party. Chika Okorie reports.
Assessing the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, who has surpassed records of previous governments in Nigeria, especially as it concerns power generation and growing agriculture to achieve food sufficiency, as well, forming a formidable front that will take full control of political arrangements in Ebonyi State, where issues on the front burner at this gathering tagged Ebonyi APC Stakeholders and Elders for Peace. The Executive Director, Administration and Training, NTA, Dr. Steve Ebo, is the chief convener of this delegate assembly.
Well, the essence of this meeting is first and foremost to let our people know that APC is alive and thriving in Ebonyi State. And secondly, we want to use this medium to congratulate our leader, Muhammadu Buhari. He's doing very well.
Nigeria has become self-sufficient in food security, and that is the biggest achievement of any nation.
Speakers encouraged the party faithful to rather reposition for greater opportunities ahead. This delegate assembly is advising the public not to recognize any faction of the party as it was earlier nullified by courts of competent jurisdiction. In Abakaliki, Chika Okore, NTA News.
Gombe State Governor Mohammed Inuwa has recognized a man who trekked from Gombe to Abuja to celebrate the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2019 presidential election, who subsequently suffered from limb pain. Amina Baba Suleiman will tell us more.
Uba is among the millions of Nigerians that support and identified with President Muhammadu Buhari when he won his election and re-election in 2015 and 2019. He trekked from Duku local government in Gombe State to Abuja, covering more than 900 kilometers in solidarity with his president after being declared winner of 2019 general election.
I am so happy and I thank the government for their support.
Duku was not abandoned as being insinuated in the social media. His state government has taken care of his medical bills and is now supported a car and cash.
Such people naturally cannot be neglected because the truth of the matter is he has shown patriotism, he has shown support, and he has shown solidarity. And as a result, we reciprocate that gesture by first taking him to hospital to make sure we attend to all his physical health problems. So as far as we are concerned, no effort or no contribution will go unrewarded as far as APC and this government is concerned.
Dahiru says he has no regret for his action in supporting President Muhammadu Buhari as he appreciates his state governor and all others who support him. In Abuja, Amina Baba Suleiman, NTA News.
In spite of the setbacks occasioned by the outbreak of COVID-19 and the NSAS protest, the 2020 National Common Entrance Examination admission into Unity schools has been conducted successfully and the result released. Announcing the result, Minister of Education Adamu said Ume Onyagu from Anambra State scored the highest mark of 199 over 200. A total of 70,580 candidates sat for the exam, out of which 24,416 candidates passed, scoring a minimum of 66%. While admission is being awaited, principals of Unity schools have been directed to complete both the merit-based 60% and the 30% of equality of states admissions.
To meet the 30% representation of states. It will also handle issues bordering on compliance with laid-down criteria in the admission process and the utilization of current capacity and other related matters. Against the backdrop of COVID-19, the selection committee is hereby directed to adhere strictly to approve current capacity of each school without exception. This is to avoid congestion of our classrooms.
The capacity of the 110 Unity colleges now stands at 26,625 with the establishment of 6 more federal sciences and technical colleges across the 6 geopolitical zones. Nigerian youths have been enjoined to key into the programs of the Katsina State government designed to harness and support talents in the country. The National Coordinator, Katsina National Talent Hunt Challenge, Faisal Jafar Rafindadi, stated this at an interaction with the participants and prospective participants of the recently launched Talent Hunt Challenge. Ifoma Ojinta will tell us more.
The Katsina Talent Hunt Challenge, first of its kind, is an initiative of the governor of Katsina State, Aminu Bello Masari. The program is targeted at hunting all kinds of talent and it's youth-driven. But the maiden edition is design-based, as participants are required to submit entries of their design concepts by deriving inspiration from any monument in all areas of Katsina State.
They are encouraging youths. And when these youths are encouraged, they are our leaders of tomorrow. So by the time we encourage them to do things like this with a lot of publicity, I'm sure we'll get the good part of them.
We are going to harness not only drawing the monument and or bringing the actives and structural design and others.
Therefore, this interactive session is to enlighten participants and prospective participants more about the competition and make clarification where necessary.
My advice for young men and women of Nigeria is that they should key into this project. Katsina National Talent Hunt Challenge is something that will help them, will make them to be known with their talent that God gave them. So please try to log in into Katsina National Talent Hunt Challenge.org.
All entries must be online, and the deadline for collection of entries is on the 8th of February 2021. The competition is open to all Nigerian youths. Ifoma Ojinta, NTA News.
Well, just as our next stop, and Zimret will guide us.
afternoon, Ruth, and thanks for joining us in Jos. The Federal Road Safety Corps Plateau State Command has warned motorists against plying the roads with faulty vehicles. The warning is coming on the heels of the incessant traffic crashes along the Polo roundabout in Jos. Caleb Gochin reports.
The Polo roundabout in the Jos metropolis has been notorious for road accidents with loss of lives and property. The most recent involving a truck, a car, and 2 tricycles. The road safety boards identified 2 major causes that are responsible for the accidents.
One is poor vehicle maintenance in respect of like the brake, then fatigue. These are the 2 principal causes of crashes around the Polo roundabout.
On measures to check these mishaps, the sector commander said a committee put together by the governor is hitting the ground running to find lasting solutions to the menace.
Drivers and riders and pedestrians, please, when you are on the road, be very mindful of what you are doing. And when you are riding or driving, either behind or in front of a truck, just have it at the back of your mind that that truck will fail brake. And as such, keep a distance that will be safe for you should there be any failure of brake.
In Jos, Caleb Gochin, NTA News.
Farmers in Plateau State have expressed worry over the series of challenges affecting farming activities in the state, which they say may lead to food crisis. Abubakar Yakubu takes a look at the agricultural sector amidst COVID-19 and efforts by agencies to cushion the effects of food insecurity in the state.
Since the beginning of the year 2020, farmers have been experiencing difficulty in different areas like crop cultivation, egg lot, and marketing of farm produce, coupled with the natural disasters and spread of the fall armyworm that destroyed grains in about 25,000 hectares of land.
Most farmers are even contemplating going into irrigation because of the flooding. But with the climate change, there must be a very big synergy in bringing on how we can aggregate water for irrigation in most of the parts of Plateau State.
Plateau State government, through the Ministry of Agri, has now shifted its attention to irrigation farming by providing support to farmers and encouraging them to venture into the system.
We restrict the activities of middlemen who have actually coming already in the Plateau State and cutting away our produce. We want to ensure that we have an organized system.
He added that Irish potato, rice and tomato farming will be well supported and other farm inputs that will ease the farming activity in the state.
Besides assisting farmers, I think steps will be taken to maybe set up some form of a price control. But by the time they still come back, they take this to market, they see increase their prices. They always have a reason to give.
Despite the availability of new farm produce in the market, prices are still high and not affordable by many. In Jos, Abubakar Yakubu, NTA News.
That's our package from Jos. Nationwide will continue. For staying with us and a warm welcome to Ibadan. The Inspector General of Police Inquiry Team has paid an on-the-spot assessment visit to the facilities destroyed during the NSAS protest in Oyo State. The team also commiserated with families of the deceased police officers. Rafia Animashan Badmus has the reports.
No doubt that the NSAS protest was hijacked across the country, which led to wanton destruction of lives and property. Sequel to this, the Inspector General of Police, IG Mohammed Adamu, set up a police inquiry panel to look into the extent of fatalities on police personnel and police stations and formations in the country. The team, led by CP Abutu Yaro, made an on-the-spot assessment to damaged police stations in Isenyi, Ogbomosho, and also in Ojo, Akobo, Egbeda, Monoton, all in Ibadan.
They visited the families of all the affected police officers. We have 5 police officers who were affected. We lost them, and they visited them to commiserate and pass the Inspector General of Police a message to them, and I said that to assess the level of damages done to the police stations in terms of our arms that were carted away, our properties that were destroyed.
There were prayer sessions for the families of the deceased in Ibadan. Wafia Animation Badmos, NTA News.
And the new policy on school uniform for public schools in Osun State takes effect as public and private primary and secondary schools resume 2020-2021 academic session. Femi Afariogun has details.
The outbreak of coronavirus prompted staggered school calendar in Osun State. After a 6-week break for third term, public and private schools resumed for the 2020-2021 academic session. For public schools, it is a new era as some new education policies, such as implementation of different uniforms, as against the single uniform for all schools, and change of school names have commenced.
I'm very proud of this uniform. It's very cute, nice, and I'm also proud of it for bringing this uniform for us to be using as a student.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, then the color is so amazing and it brings out the beauty.
The schools are ready for the new session.
Now we can identify who is who and which particular school is involved in any act of indiscipline. If you mess up now, it is easy to track you and trace you, unlike in the past when, we don't know who is who. Everybody wears the same uniform.
So teachers are ready to take the students. In fact, they've started work.
The first term academic session is expected to end by February next year. In Oshogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Nationwide continues with Ruth in Abuja.
Thank you, Kemi. A badge allegedly involving illicit oil deal and seized by the Nigerian Navy may be forfeited to the federal government on conclusion of investigation. Commander Suleiman Gachi Mohammed disclosed this while handing over the badge to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Rivers State. Jenny Bassi reports.
The badge, named MLJ Favor 1, was intercepted and seized by NNS Pathfinder Patrol Team on 13 October for suspected involvement in oil bunkering activities around Abisa Creek in Degema local government area of Rivers State. The badge is laden with unspecified volume of petroleum product suspected to be illegally refined automotive gas oil without any suspects. Handing over the badge to EFCC, Commander Suleiman Mohammed noted that Navy is continuing on its massive campaign to rid rivers waterway of crude oil theft, illegal oil refining, and pipeline vandalism.
Zero tolerance to crude oil theft, illegal oil bunkering, and other illicit activities within the maritime environment.
Receiving the badge, Deputy Detective Superintendent EFCC Hezekiah Lott said the anti-graft agency will investigate the allegation.
Obviously, there were no suspects arrested alongside the badge, but further investigations will be carried out. We're going to write to relevant agencies to know if the badge has been registered. If otherwise, it's going to be forfeited finally to the federal government.
The commander further enjoined those behind maritime crime to refrain from it, stressing that the Navy will not relent in its war against oil theft and related crimes. In Port Harcourt, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
All right, our last stop will be in Lagos, and Adiola will guide us.
The continued absence of law enforcement agents in Lagos metropolis has left the residents in constant fear and apprehension. Annie Daniels, who was recently attacked by some hoodlums, reports that the earnest wish of the residents is for the return of security agents to the state.
From Abuja all the way to Victoria Island, Surulere, Ikorodu Road, in fact, all over the city of Lagos, the story is the same. Increase in crime and criminality, no thanks to the absence of law enforcement agents in the metropolis.
Two boys came to my shop and they came with knife
So, they are trying to take what they want to take, but lucky to me, I was lucky I have to escape.
They will knock on your car. Just tap on your car like this. If you don't open, they'll just break it and collect whatever they want to. And people will be around. Nobody. You just mind your business.
If you go to Lagos, you see this street and that street fighting each other, using guns, using cutlass, using like. Even now, you can't come out from your house by 6 a.m.
Bus stops and pedestrian bridges like this one here in Obanikoro has become a safe haven for criminals who operate unhindered. No thanks to the absence of law enforcement agents on our roads and streets. These criminals, according to these respondents, operate at every hour of the day and night.
Like this, our shop now, God forbid, you can just come at any time and decide you want to come and rob. So without seeing police at our environment is very, very risky for us.
It's not safe. That's why I said maybe government will help, maybe in putting lights to make the place to lighten the place.
The police stations that were before now a beehive were burnt during the recent violence and have remained deserted, leaving citizens to their fate.
Since the stations have been burnt, things have not been going well. There's a lot of things going the other way around.
While Lagos residents look forward to the return of law enforcement agents to the metropolis, they also wish their dream of having a competent community policing will be actualized. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Simply put, tolerance commands respect of people, acceptance and appreciation irrespective of color, language, religion and belief. November 16 is observed every year as the International Day for Tolerance. In this report, Lynn Leneke examines the significance of the day and the need to tolerate people across board as well as encourage world peace.
One thing that is common in every human setting is people having differences. These differences can transform into conflicts if not properly managed. That is why the United Nations General Assembly in 1996 proclaimed the International Day of Tolerance Resolution 5195 to promote tolerance among people. This day has been set aside to foster mutual understanding and faith in human rights, promote equal opportunities among cultures and people across the world.
Tolerance and, in fact, courtesy is the basis of civilized living, is a part of civilized norms, but it comes with knowledge of what the other viewpoint is and what your own viewpoint is, an organic understanding of both viewpoints, such that you don't feel threatened by the views of others.
We must not always wait for the government to provide solutions where there is an escalation of intolerance. And we must also return back to the family values that we normally have.
Education plays a major role in preventing intolerance among human beings as it widens people's understanding on the importance of solidarity among ethnic, social, and cultural groups.
We want to see a stronger elements from the different ministries in terms of promoting tolerance, promoting the advantages that each geopolitical zone has, but also how we can harness these qualities closer, how we can be stronger as a country.
We need to get good lessons in toleration, in tolerance, and in living together in a multicultural setting, because it's not a homogeneous setting, it's a heterogeneous setting, and we have to understand that.
The theme for this year, Learning for People, Planet, Prosperity, and Peace, highlights the integrated nature of education, its humanistic aims, as well as centrality to collective development ambitions. In Lagos, Lynn Leneke, NTA News.
And Ruth is back to you.
Dadiola. Participants at a criminal law review conference have said that only a sincere pursuit of the rule of law at all levels of the Nigerian society can improve the quality of the nation's democracy. Well, they say the attitude of selective application of the rule of law would not augur well for the nation's development. Femi Okewo tells us more.
At every twist of event, every Nigerian seems to want the rule of law applied, but most often when he is the weaker one. When he is at an advantage, he just wants to have his way. But at the opening of the 3rd Annual Nigerian Criminal Law Review Conference holding in Abuja, law experts said there should be no such thing as the selective application of the rule of law. It should cut across all strata of the society and be applied always. These contributions came in the light of recent happenings in Nigeria, which the legal experts noted have affected the nation's criminal justice system. Keynote speaker at the event, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State called for even-handedness in the running of the criminal justice system of the nation.
Everybody has a role to play. And when they see that people can come up with that, to say, no, we cannot do this, you will see that they have no other option but to queue.
The conference, which runs for a week, will examine development within the last 12 months in Nigeria and analyze how they have affected the nation's criminal justice and procedures.
This conference will review bills passed and assented to by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that impact extensively on the criminal justice system, such as the Correctional Service Act, the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Nigeria Police Act 2020.
Organized by the Rule of Law Development Foundation, this is the 3rd edition of the annual conference. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
Talking sports, as the nation's national team departs to Sierra Leone for the 2nd leg of African Cup of Nations qualifiers